All right, guys, J 6.2 here, the Opkee Investors, where we leverage other people's knowledge, expertise, and effort in order to enhance our health, our wealth, and our just general joy and happiness. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about Opkee Health and how on the direction of many people on my team, how I took my blood pressure readings from the 160s all the way down to the low 100s, like under 110 in some instances. Now, I've got to give you a caveat when it comes to that. I've got to make sure once I go visit my general practitioner this month, well, next month, which will be November 2023, that will at least validate all of the readings and some of the things that I've been doing in order to make this change. Now, all of this happened within a week, so that's what makes it unbelievable, but I'm going to rock with it. And I'll tell you what I'm doing, what I've done, and we'll go from there. Now, there's always three things that I'm looking at when I'm making a change. I was a past sales coach, got a lot of results by utilizing general self-help principles, mind programming principles, things of that nature. So when I'm looking to tackle a particular issue, once I get serious about it, I'm looking at three things. Number one is my mental and my spiritual, which I think is the most important. As most people know, because on this channel, I'm going towards that direction of like Neville Goddard's work, Reverend Ike's work. I've done a lot of things that were marketed well, like Anthony Robbins. I've been to some of the workshops, the Unlimited Power Weekend, where I've walked on hot coals. But I'm telling you, YouTube University has a lot of great information on changing who you be, or at least evolving more into who you truly, truly are. The second thing is nutrition and lifestyle. So I'm going to tell you what I'm doing, what I've done in the past, and what's effective for me. It may not be effective for you. I can't give advice, but at least you'll have something else to consider. Last but not least is exercise and movement. All right, guys, before I get completely into that, let me give you a little background because no one out there really knows who I am. First of all, I want to give you some of my downfalls. The biggest downfall is I can be super stubborn, and my kids call it immature, about prioritizing my health issues, right? I hate to admit this, but I was more concerned into looking healthy, looking good. Yeah, and don't judge me. Looking looking good, but not being healthy, not being good. I don't know if anyone can relate to that or not. And it's crazy. So I wanted to do things when I go to the gym. I want to just people to say, "Man, look at that old dude doing 20 pull-ups." Now I can't do 20 pull-ups, but I would like that more so than going to the doctor's office saying, "Man, look at this guy's perfect um, numbers. Look at his perfect blood pressure numbers," things of that nature. That being said, for 2 years, I've been battling and negotiating with my doctor. He's a very good doctor, love him to death, about putting me on blood pressure medicine. I was making up all kinds of excuses by saying, let me do what I need to do as far as lifestyle, food, exercise, because I'm a little bit overweight. I want to drop this down. So we've been negotiating back and forth. So I did get it down. I did better. Um, my blood pressure numbers were lower. The lowest that I got it with them, and this was a vast improvement now, was 126. My cholesterol, I was lower and lower on that. Now he broke it down to me like I was a 5-year-old, right? He says, I'm looking at these risk factors based on a few things. Those numbers may be okay for someone who's 30 or 40, but you're 6.2. I refuse to allow him to say I'm 62, but now I'm 62. And he says, when you look at that age factor, then you look at your blood pressure, then you look at your cholesterol numbers. And of course, I love confirmation bias, right? I'm on YouTube, I'm listening to all these doctors say, cholesterol doesn't mean anything. That blood pressure is not too bad. But I knew that I was feeling a little bit differently, so I had to take heed of that. So I dropped all my numbers, did great, changed up to what I was eating, dropped some weight, and things got better. But as soon as I hit my goals, Guess what I did? I went right back to the old self. I really didn't change my lifestyle. I just substituted my lifestyle, and it showed. Let me tell you what happened. I went to my oncologist. And yeah, I mean, for you don't know, I've had radiation and all. Of course, thyroid issues are going to throw things off. At least for me, it did. So I can't tell you how things or how you reacted to things. So I went to my oncologist, went to the nurse's station. They took my blood pressure. Blood pressure was 145. She was a little concerned about that. I said, no, I have white coat syndrome. So it'll be okay in a couple of minutes. Then I went in, met with my oncologist. He said everything was great as far as that visit. So on the way out, I went back to the nurse's station and I said, yeah, go ahead and take my blood pressure again. She had invited me to do so because she was concerned about 145, 150. Then it was like 168. 168. And I said, like, maybe this is why I've been so tired. Maybe that's why I've been feeling so weak lately. Now all of a sudden, my ass getting a little scared. I'm saying, okay, I've got to take this shit seriously. So after 2 years of negotiating back and forth, lying to my doctor, telling them that I was going to get a blood pressure machine and start monitoring my blood pressure every day, I had to do it. Okay, so let me share with you what I did, in what order, and what's been effective for me to at least get me these readings that I'm getting. And again, I will validate it through my primary care physician. So let's take a look at what I did and how I did it. Okay, first thing I had to do is I had to do what I promised to do 2 years ago, and I had to get a blood pressure monitor. And that was a task within itself, because there's a lot of material out there on what blood pressure monitor to get is the best one. Now, I decided on this Omron, and I did not want anything that was going to break the bank, and this thing was only like $44. But more importantly than that, this is what I was looking for: validated device listing. I wanted to find something that had gone through some sort of testing, because I found, according to the advertising, very good blood pressure monitors that were anywhere between $12 and $200. So I went down that rabbit hole and I finally found something that was validated. This is called Validated Listing Device. The website is validatebp.org. And whatever you're considering, my recommendation is look for something that's more validated device listing, or it has a validated device listing. You can see what they go through to get that, but at least that's just one step. You're going to find shit that says it's good, it's not good, whatever the case may be. This is what I decided to lose. Now, here's the good part about it. Now, I did my own little validation test, which means nothing to you, but it means a lot to me. When I opened the box, and I decided to do this, and I'm always looking at the top number, right? Well, as the main one. I know all of it's important, but I'm just telling you the way I think. So don't get your, whatever. When I got it home, opened the box, I was still getting measurements of anywhere between 145 and 158. 145 and 158. That's before I started putting some of the changes in place. And some of these changes I put in place immediately, and it seems to have an immediate effect on it. So let me go ahead and start sharing with you some of the things that I did a little bit differently. The mental and the spiritual. That can be anything from prayer to visualization to some of the Neville Goddard stuff, some of the Reverend Ike stuff, some of the Anthony Robbins stuff. I'm certified as an NLP practitioner, but these days I like to keep things a little simple by just visualizing, stepping into whatever my higher self is, whatever my healthy self is, and just keep impressing that into my unconscious mind. This is one of the tools that the cost is well worth just trying it, whether you like it or not. And this is HemiSync. HemiSync has been researched. I did this as a kid, but it was too boring to me. But now, as someone who's 6.2, it's perfect. So I start, and here's the deal, guys. When you go to this page, it's hemisync.com. Yeah, hemisync.com. And it says that it's 61 minutes. It really isn't 61 minutes. It's 30 minutes times two. In other words, you have phase one is where you program yourself uh, to have a trigger word. And each time you you activate that trigger word, and the first one activates the trigger word, then whatever your goal is, which that's going to be the second recording, and this one happens to be plus balance blood pressure. Each time I say that, it takes me back into a state, reminds me of where I want my blood pressure to be, and then everything within my body, my spirit, whatever the case may be, just realigns to get that done. Okay, might be weird for some, but I'm a big proponent of that. All right, so go to hemisync.com. Now, there's some on YouTube, at least you can see or listen to some of the commands, some of the beats. But here's the problem with YouTube when it comes to things that have binaural beats and things of that nature. The frequencies may be off because it's so highly compressed. So that's why I'm saying, guys, 17 bucks may be a pretty good bet. And I'll put a link down there below. I hadn't even thought about becoming an affiliate, but I'll put a link down there below if you can't find it on your own. So that's the first thing. And of course, I have some of my affirmations. I have my mindfulness things. I have my deep breathing, all of that stuff. But this seems to be something that's universal. It's a mainstay. And I'm going to continue to do this. Oh, one more other thing too. When it says use daily for general maintenance and support for optimum functioning and more frequency if need is apparent. Now, when it says that daily, that doesn't mean you listen to the recording daily. That means that you activate the command. You take a deep breath, say what you have to say, you let it out, and visualize everything in your circulatory system as corrected, as healed, wherever you want it. You may be looking at your visualization, may be looking at your machine, and you see 115 or 105 over 60 or something like that. I don't know, just whatever you want. Okay? And again, guys, this is the most important, not necessarily hemisync, but the mental, spiritual aspect of things. That's the most important to me. So let's go on to what are we doing differently with lifestyle, with nutrition. All right, the only addition that I'm doing with my nutrition, with my supplementation, that is, I'm eating keto-ish because I'm not that committed to anything to try to argue with people on you've got to go paleo. I try to listen to my body and make sure that that mental and that spiritual, I try to program myself to be what I want to be. And even if I'm eating carbs, I can still lose weight, but that's all through mental programming. My belief system, maybe not yours. So I went into trying to up my level of nitric oxide through my diet. So I looked at a lot of these research studies and with nitric oxide and the effect on blood pressure. So I ordered beets. Now I hadn't started on the beets yet. I've received them, but I hadn't started on them yet. So this is my results is actually pre my total beets supplementation. And everything else, everything else I'm doing, I think still contributed to that because my supplementation for circulatory health has been berberine. I'm taking berberine, red yeast. And the red yeast was for the cholesterol, so that's what really brought down my cholesterol. And of course, ashwagandha. I hope I'm saying that right. Ashwagandha. All that stuff I was doing before I started this blood pressure challenge. So the biggest thing that I'm changing are the total beets. Okay, and I may be a little bit more consistent with my keto, whereas keto instead of keto-ish, for the lack of a better term. Now, the way that you can get your body to produce nitric oxide is not only with nutrition, but also with exercise. And there's this one doctor, his name is Zach something. I'll share that with you. Great videos on it as well. But he, in a certain way, he put together 4 different exercises that aren't that strenuous. And within like 90 seconds, within 4 minutes, it's supposed to produce and dump nitric oxide into your body. Now, this I've been doing 3 times a day as directed, and I think that has made a major, major change. So I don't know if it's my meditation or if it's this, but combined, this is something I can do pretty much for the rest of my life because I thought it was going to be boring. So the 4 exercises: the squats, alternating arm raise, but it's like marching in place with your arms. You know, you're just doing that. It's real. It looks boring and it looks weird, man, but I think I'm getting results from it. None jumping jacks is when you're just, and I'm going to show it to you too, and also the shoulder presses. Now, the video that I'm going to put a link down is the actual doctor. You're going to see so many people have videos on this, but why not go to the source? Because I've seen people make little tweaks to it, but I want to go straight to the cause, straight to the originator, and see how he says does it. The only change that I've made, well, added to it, is breathing through the nose. That's called nitric oxide breathing. That actually helps in dumping nitric oxide as well. So he may say it, I'm not sure, but close your mouth, and while you're exercising, only breathe through your nose. Let me show you who he is. And here he is. He's Dr. Zach Bush, if you want to look that up, and the nitric oxide dump 4-minute exercise workout. So I will put the link down there below, but it's really, really, I think it's really effective, at least according to my particular results. The other thing that I've added to it is making sure that I'm doing zone 2 training, because that's what got me there in the first place. So I added the nod exercises because I can be more consistent. But I'll be honest with you, the zone 2 exercise, and that's when you take a walk for like an hour, it's just not my thing, man. I'd rather do a HIIT, high intensity interval training. I'd rather do something like that for a shorter period of time, but I still will include the zone 2 even with my HIIT exercises now, because you know, it's just important. And then plus I can listen to my Audible books while I'm walking. So I have a purpose that makes it a little bit easier. And I have, some people even say you have to do that in a meditative state. I just can't do it. You have to listen to your own body. So those are the 3 things that I'm doing. So far, so good. Let me share with you what my reading was this morning. This morning, I have right here. This morning, my middle reading was 107/78. For me, that's fantastic. So again, I might find it like in the 120s or something like that, but this has been amazing. Oh, let me tell you how I choose to, well, not how to, okay, let me tell you how I decide on what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do. Number one, it really has to resonate with me. Back in my early days of coaching, I'm in sales, very, very successful consulting firm at one time. And the problem is I noticed that my self-sabotage came in when I would go to an Anthony Robbins or go to these things. And I never thought about growing myself spiritually into my higher self type of being thing. But what I would do is, if this was my comfort zone, so I would want to go from $80,000 a year to $500,000 a year. And then all of those things that need to be done, I did it, but it took a toll on me where I got here and was exhausted. So you find a way of coming back to here, even to your detriment. You think it's to your detriment. So now what I've decided to do is I try it on for a minute and just say, okay, does that feel like it's a little stretch, a small stretch? So instead of going from here to there, I tend to go from here to there. And I say that resonates with me, and I'm going to incorporate that. Then I'm going to stretch here, then maybe here if necessary. Stretching to here may not even be necessary. So why do I want to start there? Just like when I just try to go 100% vegetarian. I'm not built for that. I'm just not vegetarian, but vegan. So I took this, being carnivorous, to vegan. Doesn't work for me. It may work for other people. So far, so good. I'll get back with you guys on this Opkee health video once I have my meeting with my primary care physicians. Go out there and make some real money. Go out there and make some real changes. I'm out.